Welcome back. Today we are examining the Food Safety and Standards Act, specifically the mechanics of how the law validates scientific evidence. Our focus is Chapter 8. This is the segment of the Act that builds the legal framework for food analysis. We will be strictly looking at sections 43 through 47. If an officer suspects food is adulterated, the legal validity of their enforcement action depends on strict adherence to the procedural rules defined in these sections. Understanding these FAG sections is a requirement for the FSO exam and serves as the practical basis for preventing procedural errors in real-world enforcement. Let's start with Section 43. Before a food sample can be tested, the law must recognize the facility where the analysis takes place. Section 43, subsection 1, mandates that food analysts use laboratories accredited by the National Accreditation Board for Testing and Calibration Laboratories, NABL, or another properly notified agency. Subsection 2 grants the Food Authority the power to establish or recognize specialized referral food laboratories. Under subsection 3, the authority defines the operational rules. This includes laboratory functions, the forms required for sample submission, and the fees for analysis. This creates a hierarchy. Standard NABL accredited labs handle routine testing, while the referral food laboratory serves as the final authority in cases of dispute. Moving to Section 44, the focus shifts from the physical testing of food to the auditing of safety systems. The Food Authority may recognize third-party agencies to conduct a food safety audit, which verifies that a business is following its food safety management systems. Together, Sections 43 and 44 define the institutional infrastructure that must exist before an officer takes a sample. Once the labs are established, we look to personnel. Section 45 dictates that the Food Safety Commissioner appoints food analysts for local areas based on qualifications set by the central government. Special Condition 1 explicitly disqualifies anyone with a financial interest in the manufacture or sale of food from being appointed. Special Condition 2 allows for different specialized analysts to be appointed for different categories of food products. Section 46 details the specific duties of a food analyst and the timelines they must meet once a sample is received. Under subsection 1, the analyst must first compare the container seal with the separate seal impression to ensure the package has not been opened. If the container is damaged or the sample is unfit, the analyst has 7 days to notify the designated officer and request a replacement. If the sample is secure, subsection 2 mandates that the analyst perform the chemical or physical analysis. Subsection 3 sets a 14-day timeline from the date of receipt to submit the final report. For samples from a designated officer, the analyst must send 4 copies of the report back to that officer. For samples submitted by a private purchaser under Section 40, the analyst sends the report to the purchaser and 1 copy to the designated officer. If the 14-day limit cannot be met, the analyst must notify both the designated officer and the Food Safety Commissioner, explaining the delay and the expected completion date. Under subsection 4, any appeal against an analyst's report is handled by the designated officer, who may refer the matter to the referral food lab. Section 45 ensures the independence of the analyst, while Section 46 defines the timeline for delivering evidence. Section 47 details the legal process for acquiring a physical food sample. In subsection 1A, the food safety officer must provide a written notice of intent to the vendor. Subsection 1B requires the officer to divide the sample into exactly 4 parts, each sealed and signed by the vendor or witnesses. These parts are then distributed. Part 1 is sent to the food analyst for the initial test. Parts 2 and 3 are sent to the designated officer for safe custody. Part 4 is held for a private accredited lab, provided the food business operator requests it. The referral lab rule resolves any conflict between the food analyst and the private lab. If reports differ, the designated officer sends a backup sample to the referral laboratory, whose decision is final. Subsection 2 requires the officer to dispatch the sample to the analyst by the immediately next working day. Under subsection 3, if a sample is lost or damaged during transit, a replacement is pulled from the backup parts held in safe custody. Section 47, subsection 4, states that seized goods must be presented to the designated officer within 7 days of receiving the analyst's report. A business owner may apply for an earlier presentation, which the designated officer can grant via a written order. Subsection 5 applies to imported foods. Here, the analyst must submit their report within 5 days. Finally, subsection 6 binds the designated officer, the FSO, and the food analyst to these specific procedural regulations. This multi-part division allows for independent verification and ensures that a backup exists if a primary sample is compromised. Sections 43 to 47 establish a documented chain of custody for all food evidence. Sections 43 and 44 provide the infrastructure by defining the laboratories and auditing agencies authorized to operate under the Act. Sections 45 and 46 define the personnel qualifications and the strict timelines they must follow. This graphic summarizes the data points essential for the exam. Remember the 7-day, 14-day, and 5-day timelines, as well as the 4-part sampling procedure. The referral food laboratory remains the final authority for resolving technical disputes. Following these procedures ensures that scientific evidence remains admissible in court. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe for more line-by-line legal breakdowns.